So let's talk for a moment, if we will, about Copland's Appalachian Spring, which is the other piece on the program tonight, in which is something that all musicians are really going to know. Everybody up on this stage, I'm sure, has a relationship with this speech. And it's those of you who know Stefan well know that it is very unusual to have him on stage and yet so quiet. So, Stefan, how about if you take a little bit and tell us a little bit about some of the stuff that you have found. What is it that you love about Appalachian Spring?
Well, it's one of my favorite pieces for sure. I have a question for you though. How many times, more often than not, is Appalachian Spring paired with your music?
I would say 89% of the time. And I was never that big a Copland guy. So I was into, Mozart and Brahms and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess I also have that thing. It's so naturally paired that part of me wants to be more. And one time someone said, Béla and Béla, we're going to do Bartók and Fleck. And I said, now that's interesting. But it worked. The truth is it works beautifully. It really does. So, but I have that first thing. Though it's obvious, but it's a beautiful choice.
Well, the Copland is one of the most important American composers, without question. And he developed what we feel as this American sound in orchestral art music. And the story of how he came to that, I think, is quite interesting, because there are two points of irony. And the first is that when Copland was 20 years old, he went to Paris to study with one of the world's preeminent composition teachers, a woman by the name of Nadia Boulanger.
And remember, this is 1920, so America was the boonies, America was the sticks. It was the problem.
There was no
you had to go to Paris.
There was no real American sound yet, or American style of this art form. There were American composers, of course, but they were playing with styles from Europe. There was no new American, I guess, concept for art music. So Copland goes to Paris, and he is encouraged by Madame Boulanger to find his authentic voice through the music of his homeland. And what does Copland find in Paris in 1920? Jazz being played everywhere. So this is a little irony. He had to go all the way to Paris to discover American music, essentially.
A similar thing happened with Gershwin. Was it her as well?
Well, yes, Gershwin wanted to go study with her.
She said.
And she said, you've already got it. I can teach you and turn you into a second-rate Ravel, but you are already a first-rate Gershwin. So just keep doing what you're doing. And his inspiration certainly was jazz. So the other point of irony here about Copland discovering this American sound is that when he comes back to the United States, he, in the 30s, is tasked with going to Latin America to discover his compatriots in composition and music. And he discovers all these wonderful composers. And he's at a bar in Mexico, and it inspires in him this piece that he titles El Salón Negro. And this is his first big hit, really, and his first populist style piece. Now, Copland was surrounded by composers that were composing music in an avant-garde style, or an extremely hyper-modern style that, frankly, were not getting performances. And a lot of his contemporaries criticized him, saying that he was selling out a little bit. And he said, well, if I'm an artist and I can't connect with an audience, or cultivate an audience, what kind of artist is that? So he kept writing in this populist style, and then wrote hits like Billy the Kid, Rodeo, and then Appalachian Spring in 1944, and in 1945 it wins the Pulitzer Prize, and he has forever become known as the Dean of American composers. So interesting how he discovered his American music.
And he took some traditional materials, like if you know Irish music, you recognize a lot of the melodies in Rodeo, or straight out of Irish song. And there's also a gift to be simple, which he used in this style.
And this is the thing that folks remember and associate with Appalachian Spring. You'll find it arrives probably, 16 minutes through, 15 to 16 minutes through, this beautiful shaker tune, simple gifts. You'll totally recognize this tune when you get there. It's become one of the kind of, the fabric of Americana, this song. And this is composed by, written down by somebody who wasn't even a musician. It was just a shaker layman in 1848. It was really relatively unknown when Copeland selected it. That he was looking through books of songs and said, oh, this is cool, I wonder if I could do something with this. And that reintroduced this song into America, and it has since become one of the staples of all types of American quote-unquote folk music. And this is the other interesting thing you find with Copeland, is that you're listening to this stuff and going, oh yeah, this sounds like stuff from the movies, and it sounds like stuff from TV, yeah, and it sounds like Westerns, and you know, I think Bonanza had music like this and stuff. And then you think about it and like, oh wait a minute, was anybody like writing this music like this before? No. Copeland laid this stuff down, and later generations of composers, especially in Hollywood, grabbed it, and when they wanted to paint the sound of an open prairie, or when they wanted to paint the sound of the Appalachian hardwood forest at night or something like that, they would go to Copeland, and they'd rip off Copeland. And so these things that we think of as being kind of cliches of American music were in many cases new and original and unique to Copeland. And the other thing that to listen for in this piece, we talked a little bit about form in the approach that these two composers took to form. Think about that occasionally as you're listening to Appalachian Spring, because, and I played this myself in a small ensemble this past fall, and one of the things that's striking when you live within Appalachian Spring is that his choices of when to do what are right every single time. We talk about form, by the way. This is one of those words that musicians throw around. Form is kind of like the architecture, the design plan for how a piece of music is going to operate in time. You know, what's the beginning, what's the middle, what's the end? When do we come back to that main theme? When do we reintroduce that chord from the beginning, that sort of stuff? And Copeland is working essentially freeform in all of this. He doesn't have a form that's dictated to him, or that he's kind of design plan that he's following. He's making the choices as he goes, and you'll see that he makes the right choice every single time. And it sounds like both of you have a similar kind of freedom as you were thinking about form, right? That you weren't trying to write in sonata allegro form, or now it's time to bring back the second theme and everything like that, correct?
Yeah, I wasn't at all. I was trying to go with an unconscious feeling about when something's done and when it should move.
I was thinking about contrast, city versus the country. So it's not binary, it's not form, but I was thinking to create a form that brings out the contrast between the various small sections.
So that's a really interesting thing. The composers are actually working and thinking about this stuff a lot, and it becomes one of the hardest things about writing a long piece of music, is deciding when to do what. And so for me as a listener, I find it fascinating to listen and think about these things and think about how the composer made that choice and why it's working and how it's working. It's about time that we should let the musicians come out on stage here, but gentlemen, is there any last thing that we feel like the audience ought to know about?
I was just going to say that Abigail is going to sing another ancient song from that time period as well, from the Sacred Heart collection called Am I Born to Die? And it's really called Ida Mea. So that's a piece from that same period with a special ancient kind of song. Sacred Heart.
Yeah, and so Sacred Heart singing, remember that this is another religious folk tradition that grew up and was very popular in this part of the country in the middle 19th century. And it had its own kind of unique form of notation and things like that. And a lot of these familiar tunes that we think of as being just kind of in the soil come from the Sacred Heart song.
It's a gift to be simple. Sacred Heart too, that's kind of what I was wondering.
No, Simple Gifts was actually composed at a Shaker village in New Hampshire or Maine or someplace like that. But it is still very much, it's a closely related tradition to very similar populations that are working and developing their music in the same way with the same priorities. You can totally hear that relationship. Anything else they need to know? All right, well, thanks everybody. Really excited for this concert.